fashion lovers, welcome again to another interesting video tutorial. In case you are new here, my name is Gift, and if you're an old subscriber, thank you so much for always finding a reason to stop by. In today's video, I'll be showing us how to draft a two-piece sleeve. If this is something you like to learn, then let's go straight into today's video. And please do not forget to subscribe, like, share, comment if you find this video interesting. So first on the table, I have my pattern laid out, and this is a basic sleeve pattern which I showed us in my last video. In case you have not seen that video, I will advise that you see the video first, because that is what we are using in order to draft this two-piece sleeve. Okay, and a two-piece sleeve is actually very okay for your jacket, your suit, your blazer. It is not really okay to use a basic sleeve for your suit or your jacket, and that is why I have decided to show us how to draft a two-piece sleeve. So without wasting much of your time, let's go straight into today's video. So the first thing I will be doing is to cut out this wrist line allowance I added. In our last video, I added about 1 inch seam allowance to the wrist line, which I'll be cutting out. So if you are drafting yours, I will advise that you should not add the seam allowance. Okay. Good. Now, after doing that, the next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and draw a straight line running all the way from the apex down to the wrist, that is from the point there down to the wrist. The reason why I'm drawing this line is so that I would know where my center line falls in. Okay, so I'll go in with my marker pen and draw a straight line from that point all the way to the wrist line, even though I have a crease line already showing me where the midpoint is, but I still want to do this just for you to understand. Then I will also flip this paper over to the other side and repeat just the same thing I did here for the other side of the paper. Now, the reason why I'm also doing this is so that I will know where the midpoint is. Okay, good. After doing that, the next thing we want to do is to fold those two parts together like so. You want to make sure that you fold them together to meet at that midpoint. Okay, fold them this way and make sure they meet at that midpoint. Now, you don't really need to bother if the lower part is not meeting up, but what you need to do is to ensure that the 2 points at the top there, that is the armhole area at the top there, I'm meeting at the midpoint. This is very crucial. It is very important. Okay, make sure those 2 points are meeting up there, and then you will have to go in and tip it down. Okay, you keep doing this for the rest of your sleeve pattern. Make sure they meet at the midpoint. Like I said before, if the wrist area is not meeting up, you don't have to worry about that. The most important part is the armhole area at the top actually. So I'll also go ahead and tape that down like so. I'll do the same thing for all the other lines, and here we have the taped down part. Okay, now after you have gotten this, the next thing you want to do is to trace out that part I'm pointing to. Trace out all those parts like so on a new pattern paper. And for the wrist area, as you can see, that is the only straight part we have, so you have to trace that out too, and also the midpoint. Okay, just to illustrate it, I will be going in with a new pattern paper, and then I will trace out that part. If you have a transparent paper, this is not going to be an issue at all you need to do is to place that under your transparent paper and then trace it out with a pencil. But for me, I will just be pinning that down, and then I will go in with my tracing wheel just to trace that out. I'm only using a pencil to show you which part I will be tracing out. Okay, so I'll go in with my tracing wheel and trace that out. I'll trace the inner markings, and that is essentially why I'm using the tracing wheel. I'll trace the inner markings as well, so watch me as I do this. Good. So now I'm done tracing. As you can see, I have all the markings transferred to my pattern paper using my tracing wheel. So what I will do next is to go in with my pencil just to make those lines more visible for us to see. Okay, so and that is exactly what I'm doing here. So like I said before, if you have a transparent paper, all you just need to do is to trace out using your pencil. Next, I went in with my marker pen just to make those lines bolder. Now, after I have drawn those markings, as you can see, the part that I traced out, I also went ahead to label the part facing my front and my back. Like, this is very, very, very important. Okay, so now the first thing you want to do here now is to come down by the length of your elbow. So the elbow length I'm working with is 13 inches. So I'm marking it 13 inches from the cap height there down to that point, and then I'll connect that lines together to form my elbow line. Okay, so that is my elbow line. Please make sure you label this. So I'll just go ahead and label that part like so. The next thing you also want to put down is your wrist line. Okay, that is exactly your wrist line. Go ahead and also label that as your wrist line. Now that we are done labeling this part, now we need to work on how to achieve our two-piece sleeve. So the first thing you want to do is to break out from this center line. You know, the two-piece sleeve, I mean, the human hand is not exactly this straight. It is actually curvy at the elbow. So what you're going to do is to come out from that center line by 1 inch, and you're going to come out from there by 1 inch or 1.5 depending on how curvy you want it. Next, you're going to connect that 1 inch to your elbow point at the midpoint now. Uh, Connect it to your elbow point like so. Good. Now, after doing this, the next thing you want to impute is your wrist measurement. Okay, is your wrist measurement. Like I always do, I'm also going in with a marker pen just so that you can see the lines that I have there. So the next thing you want to impute, of course, is your wrist measurement. Now, the wrist measurement I'm working with is 9 inches divided by 2, which is 4.5, and that is what I have on the original pattern. Okay, so I'm just going to divide the 4.5 inches into 2 again. Okay, I'm just going to divide it again into 2. So divide whatever you have as your own wrist measurement into 2 and impute whatever you get at both sides, on both sides of that new line you created. So I'm just going in to impute half of that on one part like so, just as if you're taking a dart. So I'm going to impute it that way, and then I will impute the other half at the other side of the line. Okay, it's that simple. Now, the reason why we are doing this is just that we are recreating what we have on the original pattern on this new line. However, it's going to be a bit slanted, it's going to be a bit slanted towards the front. Okay, good. So I'm connecting those points to the elbow line like so. Just see what I'm doing. So I'll connect that line to that elbow point like so, and then I'll also connect the next line to the other part of the elbow line. So do this for yours. So now we have successfully transferred what we have on the original pattern to the slanted pattern now. Remember, I said the hand is a bit tilted to the front. So we have transferred those markings now. The next thing I'm going to do is to connect those lines together. Now you're going to connect the base of your wrist now together. This time when you are doing it, you're going to discover it's not going to be a straight line. So you want to connect it together with a 90-degree line. By 90-degree line, place your pattern paper like pattern master like so, and make sure the center line is falling on the 90-degree line, just like I'm doing in this video. Okay, so by the time you join the two lines together, you will discover they are slanted, they are not even straight. Next, I will go in with my marker pen as usual just to show you what we have, but now I'm using a red marker pen just so you can see the difference as we go on. Okay, now that I'm done doing this, of course, the next thing I want to do is also to connect that wrist line like so. Good. Okay, so now that you're done connecting the wrist line, it is time for us to construct our under sleeve. Now in a two-piece sleeve, you have the outer sleeve and the under sleeve. That is why it's called a two-piece sleeve. To construct that, I'll be going in by half of an inch from that new line we have all the way to the top like so, okay? And then you're also going to repeat the same thing for the other side. Now I'm going to connect those dots together so you can see the half inch I'm talking about, okay? So I'm connecting it that way all the way to the top. I will also repeat the same thing for the other side of my sleeve like so. So guys, you have successfully constructed your under sleeve. Can you see? So this new line, this new red line is now your under sleeve. So again, we are going to put in a new pattern paper and then trace out the under sleeve. So I'm going to be tracing out those parts I'm pointing to. I'll also trace out the half inch we went in by on a new pattern paper. Of course, I'll be showing you what I'll be tracing out. Okay, so I'll trace out that part, trace out this curvy line in here. I will also trace out these other parts like so, and then I'll trace out the wrist line. So go ahead and also repeat this same process in your own, on your own pattern paper. If you are using a transparent paper, like I said before, all you need to do is just use your pencil and trace that out. So guys, I also went in to impute my elbow line, and that is what we have there. And here is our under sleeve. All I'll just do is to add 0.5-inch seam allowance round, and on my wrist line I'm going to be adding 1-inch seam allowance to the wrist line. So I will do that now, and then I will show you what's the next. So guys, go ahead and impute your half-inch seam allowance like so. Half-inch round, half-inch round. Then on the wrist, add 1 inch. So guys, I'm going to be cutting this pattern out, and this is our under sleeve. Okay, this is our under sleeve. Please make sure you also label. Okay, so the wrist measurements, I added 1-inch seam allowance like so, and half-inch round. I'm also going to be imputing some random notches on this pattern. Here I have the front and the back. Please make sure you label the part facing the front and the back. It's very important. You'll be needing it much later. So I'm going to be imputing some random notches just like so, 5 inches random notches. Now these notches are not something so important, but the reason why I always give them notches at this point is so that by the time I'm joining my outer sleeve to my under sleeve, they have to align. I will know which part is which. So you can use 6, you can use 10, you can use whatever measurement you want to use, you feel is okay for you. So mine, I'm using 5 inches. So guys, without just wasting our time, impute those notches like so, and then I'll go ahead and then cut out this pattern. So guys, I'll just go ahead and cut out my pattern like so, and that is what I am doing right in the video. So guys, we have our under sleeve. Now we are done with our under sleeve. The next thing we want to construct is our over sleeve. Okay, you have your under sleeve. Of course, you need an over or an outer sleeve to make it a two-piece sleeve. To do that, we are going to be transferring these half-inch we went in by to the other side of the pattern. Okay, you want to transfer the half-inch back to the other side of this pattern, and you also transfer this half-inch on this side to the other side of the pattern. Okay, I know this looks a bit cunning, but it's very simple to do. Okay, so in order to do that, what I'll be doing is to fold on the outer line. Okay, to do that, I'll be folding on this outer line I'm showing us here. Can you see the first outer line we have? I'll be folding on it. So in order to do that, I'll fold on that part like so. Just pick it up and fold on the outer line. Now the outer line, now not on the original pattern, I mean the outer line we have after recreating the tilted part. Okay, so I'll fold on that line like so, and then I'll go in with my tracing wheel and then trace out a bit of that line here. Can you see? I'll trace out that part. I will also trace out the red line. Now, the initial red line we use in constructing our undersleeve. That is what I want to trace, okay? So I'll trace it like so all the way to my elbow line. Now, it's going to be a bit difficult tracing this all the way down because right now we are no longer working with a straight sleeve. We are working with a tilted sleeve. So now that you have done for this part, the next thing you will do is to open up your paper and continue the fold from that point. Okay, just continue the fold from the other point down to your wrist. Okay, now after you have folded that way, continue to trace it out using your tracing wheel from the elbow line where you stopped initially. Keep tracing it all the way down to your wrist line like so. Guys, be careful when doing this. Keep tracing that to your wrist line like so. Good. Now that you have done this, repeat the same process for the other side of your sleeve. Of course, I'll be showing you how to do that. So I will also repeat the same process for these other parts. So I'll be folding this line that I'm pointing to. I will fold in that line that I'm pointing to, and then I will trace out the initial half inch we went in by for our undersleeve, guys. So I'm going to trace that out. I'll also trace out that small portion at that edge, just the same way we did for the other side. So trace it all the way to your elbow line like so. Remember, it's no longer a straight sleeve, so you have to unfold this upper part and refold the lower part. So I'm going to be folding on that line, and then I will trace out the inner half inch line we have for the under sleeve, okay? Cool. Can you see? So now unfold your paper. By the time you unfold this pattern paper, you will discover that you now have the lines showing at the other side. Okay, can you see? The lines are now showing at the other side. It may not be this clear to you, but I can see it. So the lines will be visible at the other side. So we have our lines. So I'm just going in with my marker, my pencil, just to show you those lines we have successfully transferred using our tracing wheel. Okay, so do this for this part and also repeat the same thing for the other side as well. So now, guys, this is your outer sleeve or your over sleeve, whichever one you call it is fine. So this is your over or outer sleeve. I'll also go ahead and then trace out the small markings we have at the top edge like so. Can you see? So I'll trace it out like this. Can you see? I will also repeat the same thing for the other side. Good. So this is our over sleeve. It's as simple as ABC. What I will do next is just to go ahead and add half-inch seam allowance round this pattern. And this half-inch seam allowance is going to serve as the seam allowance I'll be using to join this to my undersleeve. So I will do this round and then add 1 inch seam allowance on my wrist line, okay? Half inch like so. Now I'm going in with my pencil just to show you the half-inch seam allowance that we added. Obviously, we have a lot of lines on this paper already, but if you follow this video to this point, that means you're going to understand every little lines or every lines we created on this pattern. Now at the top edge there, I'm adding my half-inch seam allowance also. I'm only just cross-checking just to be sure that I've not added more than enough more than the half-inch allowance I intended to add. So go ahead and add your half-inch allowance and then go in with your curved ruler just to create that curvy look that sleeve head do have. So be careful when doing this so you don't add too much curve, okay? I will also repeat the same thing for the other side of the sleeve head using my curved ruler. If you have an armhole curve, this is going to work very fine for you, okay? So just do the same thing like so. Connect the other curvy part to, can you see? And here we have our outer sleeve. Can you see how beautiful these patterns came out? I love to see beautiful patterns, guys. I don't know for you if you do, but I love to see beautiful, beautiful, beautiful patterns because it gives me assurance that whatever I'm creating is going to come out right. And this is just the beauty of pattern drafting. So guys, now that we have added our seam allowance, the next thing you want to go ahead to do is cut out your patterns. Just cut out. Oh, sorry, I forgot to say. Also, add some random notches just the same way we did for the under sleeve. Whatever amount of notches you've added, go ahead and impute that on the outer sleeve as well. Now, this will help you to know which part is which, and it will also help your patterns to align by the time you are joining. Okay, so now I will go ahead and cut out this pattern. So guys, this is exactly what we have here. This is our outer sleeve and this is our under sleeve. Guys, make sure you label your patterns. I always advise that you label your patterns because it will actually help you when you start to sew, okay? So you call this your outer or your over sleeve. So by the time you place your under sleeve on your outer sleeve, this is how it's going to look like. I know it's looking funny, but this is what we'll do. We are going to be joining the half inch of that one to this other half inch of the over sleeve. And when you are done, you're going to shift this other side and join the other half inch to the other side. And that will give you the curvy effect that jacket arms or blazer arms do have, okay? Then I'm only just cross-checking the notches I have just to be sure that they are aligning. And guys, that is just all for this video, okay? So guys, I will be transferring this to fabric. Watch out for my next video where I'll be showing us how to sew these beautiful patterns that we have created. And so guys, that brings us to the end of this beautiful video on how to create a two-piece sleeve. If you find this video helpful, please give this video a thumbs up, as well as do not forget to subscribe, as well as turn on your notification bell so you can always get notified every time we post a new video. It's been beautiful creating this video with you and I hope you enjoyed it. Till we meet in my next video, I'm Gift. Bye.